It is the perfect time to segue into our second option for public transit here in Saint Croix, which, as we've said before, is a service that we need, although the bus service that went for 20 months before it ran out of its $500,000 budget was not quite enough to be sustained. The Dillon report that came out in 2020 recommended Charlotte Dial-A-Ride be built out and further utilized. That was yesterday. Out of that report as well, the Southwest Transit Authority Board did a little bit of a study of its own and determined that, similar to the Dillon report, it would take a social enterprise, an entrepreneurial venture to get a very important need filled. The Charlotte Dialer Ride, as we mentioned yesterday, is incredible. Thanks to all those awesome volunteers who do that. But they don't serve on weekends. They don't serve in the evenings. You need to book 48 hours in advance, etc., etc. So one solution that came forward was Eastern Charlotte Waterways discovered that a grant was available through the federal government, which was the Climate Action and Awareness Fund. They applied for the grant. I talked to Brianna today, who wrote that grant. It was accepted. And with that, Eastern Charlotte Waterways initiated the Project Village Car Share. Now, car share is near and dear to my heart. When my wife and I lived in Toronto, we were a young family. We did not have a car. We took the bus everywhere. And whenever I needed to whip out somewhere that the transit system was a little too complicated, I used Zipcar. There was a Zipcar parking lot within a block of where I lived. I became a member. Whenever I needed the car, I simply reserved on the app, hopped in the car, paid by the hour. That would get me where I need to go, return it back to the parking lot, and walk a couple of blocks home. Again, it has that first mile, last mile issue in the sense of you need to be mobile to get to the car. It's not sitting in your driveway, but it is an incredible option. Again, Charlotte Dial-A-Ride does solve the first mile, last mile issue, and the car share is extremely flexible. The Southwest Transit Authority Board, on the website of ECW Project Village, they have some amazing stats. For example, 20% of people in Charlotte County are considered below the low income cutoff. So think of that. 1 in 5 of us are in the low income zone, and it is very expensive to have a car. I spend hundreds of dollars a month on my car, and in that report, you'll see on their website if you visit, and I do have the link in the description, on average, 14% of people spend on average 14% of their budget on their private transportation, on their car. So that is a lot that many of us cannot sustain. So the Action Fund, the Climate Action and Awareness Fund, put out a call to provide funding for a couple of projects to reduce greenhouse emissions in an area, and also to provide public transportation options, affordable, accessible transportation, which, of course, in a rural area like ours, is a major challenge. And with that, Project Village Car Share was born. And again, as I say, check out their website below in the description. I want to throw up some incredible stats, though, similar to myself when I use Zipcar in Toronto, and I'm just a one-car family now. So if ever we need access to a second car, this would be the way to go for us. But I want to give you an idea of the ridership, how they are performing, because they just crossed over their second anniversary, and we are in year 3. And why am I harping on this as somebody who wants to be the provincial MLA? Because, again, having talked to the people at ECW, similar to many initiatives around here that are a public service and a common good, they were born out of a pilot project, and now they survive year to year on renewable grants. And public transportation is no exception. In fact, it is the most precarious because there is no sustainable public transportation, right? I mentioned this in videos a few days ago. Nowhere in the world are you going to see public transportation as a sustainable business venture. Nobody is getting rich providing public transportation. In fact, it's understood that the government needs to consider it an investment, a common good, a public service to get their citizens around to things like education opportunities, school, employment. And we are going to see that here. I want to throw some stats up on the screen here about who is using Project Village car share. And so if you can't see the screen, let me read it for you. They have some targets for 2024, but here they're saying 67% of their members are active car share members. The top one user used it 61 times, the top two used it 40 times, the top three used it 23 times. They had 246 car share bookings in 2023. This is their 2023 report. Now, taking first place was St. Andrews with 186 rides booked and actually used. They're not counting cancellations. And St. Stephen, 43, and Grand Manan, 17. That's not our riding, but they do have a car out on Grand Manan. Grand Manan also has a taxi service, though, which we do not in St. Stephen and St. Andrews. Some companies have popped up, but they fade away. And so that has never seemed to be very sustainable, again, because it does take such an investment in the capital and the time. And so that's why Charlotte Dial a Ride is so intrinsic to the success of public transportation. And so is this venture as well. Now, I want you to look at the bottom, if you can see. I know it's tiny. The car share user profile, the top four, the number one are students. So people are using this car share to get to classes, to boost their education, which is just so crucial and so important for us as a community. So we want to see those people be able to get to school, be able to get to classes. Number two were newcomers. I talked to the people at Eastern Charlotte Waterways, and people new to the country, newcomers, actually learn to drive in some of these cars and get their licenses. And again, that's what we want. We want people to be able to have access to a car so they can learn to drive and get around. Employees is number three, and young families is number four. That's the user profile of their members. Now, skipping over to the box on the right, the car share drives. When they looked at what the actual drives were used for, number one was school and academic. This is a huge community service to have this available. Number two is family errands. And again, in Toronto, when we didn't have a car, Zip car, we'd use it to get to Costco or get to the supermarkets that we couldn't otherwise get to on the bus. Number three, recreational. And number four, employment. People are using car share to get to work. And so this is the kind of thing where we want to see this built out. But man, once again, it's just too precarious. Right now, they operate on renewable grants. They came into existence with a federal fund, and the province is just not participating in this. Again, the province funds the Southwest Service Commission. There is a transit mandate, but it's $50,000 per silo, and it is not actually funding the transit itself. And that is something the Green Party wants to see equity in our society. We don't want to see people without access to a car. And so Project Village is a crucial key component. And we would love to see them not have to wonder year over year, and us not have to wonder year over year if they're going to exist next year. Only 20 to 40%, I've mentioned before, of any public transportation service is supplemented by the actual fees that the users pay. So again, when you pay a bus fare or whatever it is, you're only going to that money is only going to cover 20 to 40% of the service. The other 60-ish% typically comes from federal, provincial, or municipal funding. It's just what you have to do. You have to see it as a public good and a community service to get your citizens around so they can go to school, increase their education, get to work, and yes, in turn, pay taxes, get jobs, and that is, of course, going to benefit the community as a whole. I've said it before, and this is a perfect time to say it again. Sometimes spending money as a government is not just an expense in the balance sheet, it's actually an investment. I've grown a corporation over 7 years, $500,000 business, and every time I put money out the door, I my hair caught fire because I saw it as an expense, I wouldn't be where I am now. You have to spend money in order to better your community, better your business, better your services, make sure people's needs are met. You have to do it smart, but not every dollar that goes out the door is money set on fire. You are investing in the future, and I don't know how much more of an investment in the future providing transportation for somebody to go to school or go to their job could be. It is quintessentially that. It is important for us as a community and as a society to make sure that can happen. It's something I'm willing to invest in. So, all right, that is it today. Tomorrow we're going to talk about Kari. I'm going to stick with Kari. Maybe we should take a poll. Do you say Kari or do you say Kari? Which is the third component as recommended. Dillon Consulting, this report said we're going to need social enterprise. We're going to need entrepreneurs to step in and fill the gap where a provincially funded bus service did not. We have that. And that's why I continue to be excited and optimistic that we have what it takes to solve our needs, and the province can and should step up and make sure that they are helping fill the gaps and make sure